Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's class. And in today's class, we're going to look at file uploads. Um, and we are going to look at role-based authorization, and then how to deploy your API to render.com. Okay. So first, I remember that the last time we talked about file upload, we just talked about uploading your file to the back end, right? And I said there are some platforms that once you try to re-upload your back end, it will clear whatever you uploaded before in your file folder, and then you will need to re-upload again or something. You won't be able to persist on some servers. For example, if you upload your backend on render.com and people are maybe, let's say maybe you're uploading an e-commerce platform on render.com, for example, and then people start adding products, and then while people are adding the products, you changed something about your API and then redeployed it. There's every high possibility for those files that uh, will save directly on the server to be lost. Okay, so with that will mean that you need a third-party service to upload your files and manage your files while your database just keeps track of the URL to that file. And we're going to be looking at using a service called Tigris Data. And Tigris Data is S3 compatible, which means it uses AWS on in its background to hold hold files. Okay, then we'll talk about role-based authorization. So um, there's a difference between authentication and authorization, right? And I'll explain. So if you say your name is um or you are Victor, right? Okay, let's not even use that scenario. Let's say you're trying to tell a company that you're a staff, right? And the company wants you to prove that you're a staff to them. Then that should mean you should show them something that proves that you're a staff. Maybe something like a letter, right? A an employment letter or your ID card or um something, right? That only the company issues to people that are their staff, right? So that's authentication. Now, authorization is being able to restrict um different features, right? From being used by just anybody. For example, if you go to a phone shop, maybe for example, as a user, as a customer, maybe you want to buy phone, there are places in that shop, there are doors in that shop that they put this inscription there and they say staffs only, right? Which means it's only staffs, right, that are allowed to enter that room. Which means if you're not a staff, you can't be allowed to enter that room, right? So that's a form of um, restriction, right? And that can be likened to authorization. So you're not authorized to enter that room simply because you're not a staff. When you become a staff, you'll be allowed to enter that room. Even in banks, right? There are banks you go and there's a place for customers, and sometimes it's even as strict as where you find the places where customers sit, the employees can't actually sit there. Okay. I remember working somewhere and after on my time off, I went to sit where customers sit and just take a drink, and my manager saw me and was like, You're not allowed to sit here. You're not a customer. So I argued out like, but so it's not really my period, fine, like it's not really my time to work. Like I've done my shift and he was like, even if but you're still a worker, you're not a customer, so you're not allowed to sit here. This place is only for customer, okay? And also it also applies to um workers. And mind you, I was new there, so I didn't know about that rule until that day. And so the same thing happens with customers. There are places customers are allowed to, or things, actions customers are allowed to take. For example, customer cannot walk into your shop to tear receipt and sign that he has bought something. It's a staff that can issue receipts, right, to the customer, not a customer issuing receipt to himself or a customer issuing receipt to a staff, right? So that's authorization, being able to restrict a part of your. So now in terms of programming, it's just all about being able to restrict your um your infrastructure, right? Maybe you'd say, okay, if you're a user, you should be able to call this endpoint, you should be able to call this endpoint. Uh, then these are endpoints that can only be called by the admin. Okay, these are the endpoints that can be called by admin or maybe a staff or something like that. Then, before now, we've not really talked about how we can take our back end on the internet to the cloud and make it accessible to anybody in the world. So we are going to see how we can do that in this class also. And I hope you guys are ready because you're learning a lot of things today. Trust me. Okay, so let's now let me stop sharing and let's dive right into file uploads. I believe this should be it. Okay, right. So we are here, right? And the first thing, okay, before we even proceed here, right? We should talk a little bit about Tigris data, right? And we should see their website and also get to know more about them. So I'm going to visit their website and we are going to see what their website is all about. So if you go to tigrisdata.com, Tigris, Tigris data.com, let me share that particular screen with you guys. So you see, it's a globally distributed S3 compatible object storage. So object storage, that object there just stands for a file. Like Tigris is a globally distributed S3 compatible storage for services that provides low latency anywhere in the world, enabling developers to store and access any amount of data for a wide range of use cases. Beautiful. So of course you have to get started, right? So another advantage of using Tigris is wherever you move your API to doesn't matter. As far as your database has the link to the image or the file you're storing, you can always access that file. Okay. And I think I already have an account with these guys. Please. I have an account with these guys. I think it's GitHub I use. So let me log in again with GitHub to show you the procedure. Uh, this is actually slow. This is actually slow. Okay. So let me see if they sent me a one-time password. Let me see if they sent me a one-time password. I can't find that. Okay, let me choose a one-time password. No, why is it even showing my one-time password? What kind of people do that? I should try another method. So let me see. I think they should send me an email. So sorry, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to log into uh Tigris so that I can create a bucket and create access to that bucket, and then I'll be able to start pushing files to that bucket. Okay, so let me check my email. Uh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay. All right, I've seen it. So 226.169. Yes, remember this divide for 30 days. Okay, so uh let's see. Let's see. Retrieving authentication. Right. So I'm able to log into my Tigris data dashboard. Okay. And let's see what we can do. So the first thing you notice is we have this interface, right? We have a sidebar that has buckets, access key, IAM policies, usage, this and that, documentation, Tigris status. So the first thing you would need to do is to create a bucket. And a bucket is, as it's called, a bucket. It's it's a container where you store your files. For example, you can create a bucket to store profile pictures. You can create another bucket to store maybe PDFs, right? Or you can just store everything in one bucket. It depends on you, right? If you want to, okay, let's take, for example, you're building a job portal, right? And then people that register will, of course, upload profile picture. You can say, okay, one bucket should be for uploading a profile picture. While maybe people that, before you can apply for a job, with a job portal, you need to upload your CV, right? And then uploading that CV now, maybe you want those CVs to be stored in a different bucket. You can create two buckets here. So let's see how we can actually create a bucket. So yeah, bucket is used. I don't know why. So this is actually funny. Why did they name it bucket in the first place? Like, do is there any inspiration behind um uh because I know bucket is mainly used for washing clothes. Okay, so bucket name, I'll just say say washing. Okay, so someone is asking, can't the database hold data like images? So yes, it can, but it's going to be too expensive doing. So yes, um, the database can hold images. Now, those images you would want to convert to blob, right? Or base 64 before you store them. I think I mentioned this in the last class, but it's not good, or it's not a scalable storing. It's not okay, or should I say, it's not really good storing images directly on your database, except you want your database to flow fast. And these services are cheaper to use because now this is the thing. Let me explain why in detail. When you store image on your database, right? And you want to uh, show that image to a user, you will first move that image from the database to the user's end, and then convert it from your block or your base64 to an image, then render it, right? Which is too much of, like, that's moving a lot around. Like, it's going to hit on your scalability, on your API scalability, because imagine you're okay, for example, you're trying to look at a list of products, maybe a list of 10 products. Maybe you're building an e-commerce platform, right? And your users are trying to look at 10 products. And then those 10 products, each of them have its image stored on the database. So you want, and let's say maybe each product have like 5 images. So, and each of those images are like 3 MB, 5 MB, because they have to be very sharp images. Then all those images are moved per product for those 10 products from your back end to the front end, and then they are converted to they're converted from their block or the 64 states to being an image, and then they are rendered. That is going to hit on your scalability. So instead of that, why don't you have a place where you store images, and then when you're fetching from your when you're fetching data from your database, the database is just returning text, which is very, very light to move around. So it returns text to your browser, and then your browser uses the image link that the database um, provides to fetch the images or files that are necessary. That way, your 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 backend doesn't stress itself moving around huge chunk of files, from the backend to the front end and the rest. So that's why you need a service like this to store your data or your files. I hope I've answered your question, Isaac. Okay. Yeah. So that is the reason why you would want to use this. So you say washing. So did I say washing? I'll just say um I'll call this fun bucket. Fun bucket. I'll make it public. So now, if you don't make your bucket public, it's not going to. You can put things in your bucket, but the link to what you're putting in your bucket will not be accessible from outside the bucket. Okay. Then I'll just leave it as standard. So the default storage provide high quality, high durability, availability, and performance for frequency access data. So yeah, I'm going to access this data frequently, so I'm going to leave it there. Don't worry about all this. What really matters is what's the name, and do you want it to be the bucket to be publicly available, or do you want the bucket to be private, right? So let me explain this public again. This public means anybody that has the link to a file in this bucket can access that file if you make it public. If you make it private, you can put or add files to this bucket, but you cannot render that. You won't be able to render that file outside the bucket. Maybe what you can do is you can manually download the file from the bucket and then use. So you can have private buckets also. So I've created that bucket, and then the next thing you want to do is you want to create access to that bucket, right? So it's more like your bucket has a password. Your bucket should have a PIN or a password to how it can be accessed. right? Because we don't just want anybody to be able to load data or add data to your bucket randomly. Okay, someone is asking, that means Tigris is almost the same as Cloudinary. Yes, but Cloudinary makes use of presets rather than buckets. So you can create a preset for an image, maybe a preset for file, and then you can use that preset to upload and separate your files or something like that, right? Yes, so what Tigris is doing, Cloudinary also does it, right? Or what Cloudinary does, Tigris also do. Just that I think Cloudinary, I might be wrong, but I don't think Cloudinary is S3 compatible. They have their own way to manage files. Meanwhile, Tigris is S3 compatible, and we'll see why we say it's S3 compatible. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to create access key. So access key is used to access uh your bucket. So we'll say create access key. I'll say, I could call it for phone bucket, or I'll just say phone bucket access key. Yeah, and then so admin access enabling gives admin key. Okay, to all the buckets in okay, so no, I don't want this to access all the buckets in my organization. If I tick this, then it means the key I'm trying to create here can access any buckets that I've already created previously, but I don't want that to be the case. I want to be able to choose the bucket that this key I'm creating should access. So bucket permissions, grant all buckets, and then not grant all buckets. So I should add a bucket which I want this key to have access to. So that's the bucket I want. So what I'm trying to say here is this key I'm trying to create should have access to phone buckets. Remember that phone bucket is the bucket I created previously. Then I don't just want it to have read access. I want it to be an editor. So being an editor means this access key can be used to add, delete, and whatever, right? From this bucket. So once you do that, so if we leave it at read only, so now for example, if you just want someone to be able to read from your bucket, right? And now why do we even need this read only? For example, if you want your bucket to be private, right? But then you want some certain people that have this access key to be able to read from that bucket. Then you can keep it at read only. You create the uh the key, right? You click create to create the key, and then you send it to those people. So with that key now, if you send a link to an image, right, or a file, you should be able to read that file, but they cannot write to, right? That's if your bucket is private. But now my bucket is public. There's no need of me creating a read-only access key because it's public. Anybody can read as far as the person has access to that bucket, right? Or the link to a file in that bucket. So I'll change this to editor. Okay. Then the next thing I'll do is I'll click create. So once I click create, it shows me all these access key, ID, secret key, S3, endpoint URL S3, endpoint URL IAM, region auto. So these are the keys that have been created, right, for me to use to access the form bucket. So what I'll do is I want to see the environment variable, and this is very important. I'll copy the environment variable, then I'll go back to my uh I'll go back to my VS Code. I'll go back to my VS Code. I'll come here to my ANV, and I'll just simply paste it here. Simply paste that. Okay. Then the next thing I would want to do is save that, come here and write npm install So wait, so I'll just say at AWS SDK slash client S3. And how do I know this self? Let's let's come back to this point. Let's come back to our Tigris. Okay, so remember I've copied this, I've pasted it, I'll just click done. Okay, so as Sam is asking, isn't this the wrong project? Nope, nope. This is not the wrong project. And I mean the one opened on VS Code. No, this is not the wrong project. This is the this is the one we used. Okay, I remember that we worked with Postgres last week, but that's not the repository I'm using, or that's not the code base I'm using. I'm using the one that works with MongoDB. Okay, and you can also it's not too different with the uh like they're not too different actually, right? What you can use S3, what you can like storing images or storing files in your database works the same way on whether MongoDB or another one like Postgres, for example. So let's continue. Okay, so I created this bucket key. Um, then the next thing I want to do is documentation because that's where you're going to learn how to use it. Okay. So if you come down here, come down AWS S3 SDK, help me, please open. So I want this to show up. All right. So if you want to know more about like Tigris data and how to use it, you can come and read about it here. But this is what we are actually concerned with, JavaScript SDK. So see it here. How do we know AWS S3 clients? This. Um, okay. So I like using the put command. So I'm looking for that put object command, put object, get sign URL, get sign URL. Okay, so upload objects from FS. Okay. Okay. Upload response, upload object from FS. Beautiful. You can also use this. Another way to actually do it, which I'm looking for. Okay. I think they've updated their, I don't know, but it feels like they've updated their documentation. But this is how I upload files, right? I'll show you okay, this is it, sorry. This is it. So this is what I was looking for. Put object command, the bucket name, the key, and the file you want to upload. So once you finish that, uh, you will then do await s3.send this command, and then you return a response. So let's see how we can actually do that in our own code base. So let's come back here. So we'll install S3. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to create a utility to upload pictures because yes, of course, that's what you need to do. I'll just say file upload. JS. Uh, and this shift to the side. Okay. Okay, so I'm waiting for this to install. But then while that's installing, I'll say const that should be equals to fire node fs promises. So this fs, right? File storage. This is a package that is used to access your file storage and using the promise pattern, right? Using promises to access your file file system. So this package would allow you to access files and the rest. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to read file. Then what I like doing is I'll say, let me just go with like that equals to wire. I like renaming my files. So I'll use that to rename my file. And then I'll just say .env.config. Then the next things I want to do is I want to set up the S3 client. And let me come back to the documentation to see how they did theirs. Okay. So what they supplied on their own is, let me just copy it and paste. So that's what they did on theirs. Okay, this has finished installing. So I can then say const that should be equals to require at AWS S3. Say S3 client. I need S3 clients, which is this S3 clients. I'll need I'll need the put object command. So region is auto. This is so let me see, does it correspond with what we have here? C3 dot storage. Okay, yeah, it corresponds. First part style false. So I'm not sure of what this is, but I think it should be, this has to do something in terms of maybe parts, but I'm not really sure. And you might as well just remove it, right? Then what we want to do is, I want to say export. So I want to write what will happen, or the function that will be called when you want to upload a file, for example. So I'll just say upload file should be equals to async um And then I could just say file there, and first I'll just want to console the log that file, right? I just want to do that first to be sure of something. So I'll say npm, is it run dev? npm run dev, then I could just, okay, so, okay, I already did this. Upload single file, upload the single dot file. Okay. Yeah, I'm using memory storage for this. I remember I talked about memory storage. Then the next thing I would want to do is I would want to call upload file, upload file from file uploads. Okay, so it automatically imports it for me. Remember, utility file upload, upload file. Then I'll just want to pass req.file. So no, I'm just expecting a single file from here. If I'm expecting an array of files, right? Maybe req.files, something like that. Maybe I'm expecting a couple of files. I might as well just write maybe a for each or a map function to upload those files one by one. Okay. So let's just test that. So let me open my Postman. I would have opened this Postman since. So Postman, let me open Postman up, and we would use Postman to actually test. Okay, so it has actually opened, right? I think I should reshare my screen for you guys to see. Um, where's Postman? Where's Postman? Yep. Yep. So Postman has opened up, and then I'll just try to send that picture. So it says file uploaded successfully, and let's come back to VS Code and see what happened actually. So of course, okay. So we have something here. What is it saying? It's saying directory. Okay, sorry, that's for Postman. Okay, so file property showed that, and we called upload file, and upload file also should have printed something. Okay, I didn't save that, sorry. I didn't save this file. And let me go back here. Let me see if I even saved this one. So I didn't save this one. So let me save, I've saved both of them, and let me try to upload what happened. So it's saying require is not defined. Okay, require. Okay, so let's come back here. Why is require not defined? Wow. So how come? It's saying require is not defined, but okay. Let me just remove it first. Wow. Do I need to define require? What's going on? So do I need to? I don't need to define require. So I don't know if it's because I'm not using any of them yet. Let me just let me just mute all of them and let me try to upload again here. So let's see, what does it say? Okay, so practically the same thing. So what we would really be concerned with is the we'll be concerned with the original name and the type. We'll be concerned with the original name and the type. So let's see how we can actually make this work already. So first of all, what I'll do is I'll create a key. I'll say const key equals to. So now the key is just going to be, the key is actually the name of the file, right? I could just call it file name. File name. So I'll just say file name should be equals to v4 plus dot plus file dot mime type dot split by forward slash, because remember there's a forward slash here. Split by forward slash. You have image and you have JPEG. So you say the one at the index of one, which is going to be this JPEG. So you're saying the file name will be a v4 um um a v4 name, and the extension will be this .jpeg to be .jpeg. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to write your command. Command should be equals to new put object command, and then your put object command will carry the bucket name. So first thing is bucket. The bucket name is fun bucket. So you say fun buckets. Although you're supposed to put this name in your env and then import it here, or use a process.env to replace the value here. So then the key is going to be your file name. Is going to be this file name here. And then the body, which is the actual file itself, is going to be read file. Then what you want to do is you want to say const response should be equals to await this S3 that we configured here, S3. So S3 dot send. And you want to send what you wrote here, this command here, so which is, so this command is like what describes the bucket, the file name, and the file itself, right? So once you do that, you can decide to return a response. You can decide to return this response, and we'll just log that response out. So I'll come to the entry point. I'll come to this entry point. Okay. I'll come to this entry point and I'll say pause to await upload file. And because this is an await, this will be an async function. So I want to return these file details if it was uploaded successfully. So let me see, let me try to tackle this problem, right? Require is not defined. We'll be using require since const require. So why is require not defined here? Let me use this first. See. So this is quite strange. It's quite strange. It's quite strange. Require is not defined. Reference error. Okay. Well, how did I? So let me check. I said mortar is equals to require and then mortar. Okay. UID is equals to require UID. So sending email, the same thing. I say this is require. So why is it telling me that required is not defined? Okay, so we are going to trace this problem. We're going to trace this problem together. Module, CJS, common JS. Require is not defined. Okay, so let's do this, right? Let's do this. Because I wouldn't want to waste our time on this. So this is another way to debug. Once you don't know, right, or you're not sure about how. Okay, someone asked, did you module.export UUID? Okay, module.export. I don't really need to export UUID, right? I just imported it to use. Okay. I actually understand. I actually understand the issue. Um, sorry. I'm the one that actually made the mistake. And I'll show you what I did wrong. I've seen the issue. Now, I'm using CommonJS, not ES module. Why do I have an export um function here? Why? Or an export keyword here? I'm not supposed to export this way. Rather, I'm supposed to say module dot export equals to file upload or file upload. This is what I was supposed to write. Or even if I wrote module dot export equals to then this function, like writing this is also correct. Saying module dot export equals to that function. This is still correct. Okay. So either ways, I wasn't supposed to use export because using export is me writing uh uh ES module, not CommonJS. Okay, you guys should go and read about the difference between CommonJS and ES modules. Then it's not that difficult to configure, right? Oh, it's upload file, not file upload. Okay, so oh, imagine. File upload. What is file upload even doing here in the first place? Okay, so let's see. Everywhere is good actually now. Then let me try to upload again. Okay, so what is it saying now? It's saying upload file is not a function. Okay, so if it's not a function, what is it then? Sample backend app line 24. So let's come here, line 24. Upload file. So upload file is not a function. Okay. So but it's a function here, right? Returns a response and we are export. Okay. It's module.exports this module.exports. Okay. Okay. Module.exports file upload. Okay. Okay, so let me check if I uploaded this, if I imported this field. Yeah, so okay. It wasn't supposed to come with those brackets actually. It wasn't supposed to come with those brackets. So I'm going back to Postman to just click the button to try and upload again. So what happened? Okay. Okay, instance of an object. So let's see. The problem is actually from here. So let me see if I just pass the file directly without using what I used before, what is going to happen? Okay, so unable to calculate hash flow readable string. All right, so this is what I'll do. Instead of using memory storage, what I'll use is disk storage. So I'll use disk storage. So I'll say Monta console uploads dot. Okay. So let me go back to check Mortar's config because right now I can't actually remember how that was configured in our last class. Okay, so let's come here and check. So I sorry about this, but let's check how this storage was being configured. Then we can just follow that to configure what we want. So sorry, I just saw it and it disappeared. So this is disk storage, and then we said no upload should be equals to Malta storage. So that's what I'm supposed to write there. Sorry, so let's go back now. So here, what I'm supposed to do is instead of exporting this directly, I would say Malta storage should be upload, which is this upload here for the disk storage. I'll export this. Then from here, I can then say uploads dot, and I'll see single first file, and then so what can I do here? So let me just let me test it already. Sorry. Ah, wow. Upload dot single is not a function. Wow. So everything is falling apart. Okay. So let's see, upload browsing is not a function here. Okay. So why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Hmm. Single is actually a function and it accepts file. And then it's normal that it uploads. Um, is there any file I didn't save? Oh, I didn't save this mortar config. That's the reason. I didn't save that mortar config. That's sorry about that, guys. So this mortar config wasn't saved. That's why it was not seeing mortar as a function. Sorry about that. So let's try again. And let's see. Unable to calculate this, unable to calculate that. So file properties. So now this is what to do. Since you're uploading this file, you can then say, you can then wrap this in your read file. You can wrap this in your read file. So here you have, let's see, okay, there's still MIME type, and this is supposed to be the file paths. Okay, the file name, it's just give me a second. Okay, so this is supposed to be, so let me check here. What happens? Okay, so this is supposed to be the file dot destination plus, oh, in fact, instead of using that, I'll just use file dot path. I wanted to say destination plus file name, but the file path has those two at once. So I could just use that at once. So let me try and test again. I'm able to calculate hash for flowing readable string. Okay. So what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? So unable to calculate hash for flowing readable string. Okay. Does this have anything to do with what I wrote? Oh, wait, this is supposed to be a promise, right? So this was supposed to be an await. Yeah, because this is a promise. This is a promise. It's promise based. So if we hover here, it returns a promise as a buffer, and I didn't wait for that promise buffer. Guess that's the reason why it's giving that issue. Ah, sorry about that. So I just made the request from Postman, and I'm waiting for a response, waiting for a response, waiting for a response, and the image is uploaded successfully. Image is uploaded successfully. I didn't log out the response from this image, but let me do that now, and I'll upload the same image again. I'll upload the same image again. So I'll just say console.log the file details. And also I'll name this file details so it will be easy for us to see. Okay. So I'm heading back to Postman just to click that button. I'm not changing any other thing. So it's trying to upload, trying to upload, trying to upload, but it's uploading. Then this is the response. Now, um, let's come back here. So mostly, right, this response doesn't contain the what is it being called? It doesn't contain the link to what you just uploaded, right? So what you're going to simply do is you're going to create that link on your own, right? And there's a simple way to actually do it. So this is how to do it. So you need the bucket name, you need the your fly.io link. Where is it? So it's not this I am story. So this how it looks. Where is it? You want to do something like this. First, let's say file. File uploaded is equals to HTTPS then the bucket name, so which is uh fun bucket dot your fly IO link. So I'll just keep that there. Then I'll say / this key, which is the file name. Which is the file name. So I can't remember this link actually. Let me go and check for it. I can't really remember the name now. Just give me a second. Um, Let me just do that real quick. Okay, so that link, fly IO link, that's what I'm looking for. Um, Sorry, just give me a few minutes, please. This is not the best time for my system to run. Okay, so I'm still checking for once I see it, once I see that the link, I'll just bring it on there and then we'll continue from there. Yeah, okay. So let's come here. So this part, sorry, so this part is the fly IO link I was actually looking for. Sorry about that. So where do I append it? So I append it here. So this is the full link, right? The name of the bucket, your fly IO link, / the name of the file name you just uploaded. So you instead of returning this response, you can just return the file you uploaded. That's the full URL actually. So let me try to upload again. So these ones are just like metadata. You can use this HTTP status code to know if it's uploaded successfully. Maybe you can see you can do something like, oh, if this HTTP status code is 200, then you should return an object. So let's do it, Shah. Let's do it. Right? So say if response dot metadata dot HTTP status code is equals to 200, then what we want to do is we might want to form this link and send it back to the user, right? Then we might want to say else, maybe we want to return null, something like, you might return an object that has, maybe you can do something like this, right? This is also acceptable. You can do something like error should be null, and then this file uploads, right? Then here, instead of returning, so when it's not 200, you might want to return maybe something like error, uh, maybe fail to upload, and then file upload should be null. File uploaded should be null. So you do this error, the file upload should be null. So, and also, this is what I like doing. I like wrapping this. I like wrapping it in a try and catch. So in case it crashes, it doesn't potentially crash the server, right? So I'll just say, should I throw new error? Okay, I could still do what I did here. I'll just say return error, and this file upload will be null again. Okay. So if we do that, and let's come back and try to make the request again. So I'll go back to Postman, make the request again, come back here. Oh, okay, it's not going to actually go because the server is still restarting. So let's wait for the server to finish restarting. And sorry, this took a little bit of time, right? What I like doing is I like setting this up once on my code and then I just go my way. So we have this. Let me come back here and send the request. So I've sent a request and I'm waiting for a response. So this is the full link to that object storage. And let me copy this link and let me paste it on the browser for us to see. Yep. So we're on our browser. We're on the browser. So I'll just paste and enter. Let's see if it's going to load. Okay. So now what is it telling us? It's telling us let's download the image, right? If we try to render this image using an img tag, it will actually show. Okay. So let me just download this image though. So I'll just say save to download it. And I want to open that image in a new tab. Or let me just open that image. Yeah, so I know you guys can't see the image. Maybe I have to share the image, right? Yeah. So that's the image I just uploaded using uh uh Tigris data. That's the image I just uploaded using Tigris data. Okay. And let's go back to our browser for a second. Let me also show you. So there is a way to also upload directly to the bucket, right? I think from your dashboard. So you see this, you see your buckets, these buckets. Are they, sorry, fun. Okay, sorry, let's come back here to buckets. Okay, so this is the fun bucket. Once you click on it, or once you click on it, you should see the object. So we have 3 objects on this bucket, which means we've been able to upload 3 files to this bucket. This one, and this one, right? And if you want to manually upload a file to this bucket directly, you can just click upload and upload the file you want to upload, any file you want to upload. Maybe I just want to upload that file. I click on upload and it will start uploading the file. Once that upload is done, we'll have 4 objects in this bucket. So you can, and also you can copy the URL of the file you just uploaded, right? So this is the same file I'm uploading, is the same file I downloaded, right? This is the file I uploaded last using the using Fly or using VS Code. Okay, so I could copy the URL and use it if I want. Okay, so that's it about um uploading files. I know it might look a bit confusing, but if you watch the video again, right, it should make sense to you. It should make sense on how I uploaded these files. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we'll talk about we'll talk about role-based access or role-based authorization. And I'm looking for a schema. So I use a schema. Did you have anything like role? No. Okay, we didn't have anything like role. So if I say something like should be a type, role should be a type of string, and it should contain, so it could be a cost, it should be a user, or it should be an admin. Okay. So I'm moving over to role-based access. So being able to access this based on your role. Okay. And this should be required. Or you could do it this way. You could say this should be default, should be user. So if they don't specify their role, they automatically users. But if they specify their role, then they could either be user or admin. Okay, so we've done this. Then the next thing I would want to do is normalize my database. So remember that the users we had before, none of them had a role property. If we try to check our MongoDB, so I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to reshare my screen and we are going to go to Mongo database. So you're going to see what I am talking about currently. Where is it? Okay, so let me share my MongoDB with you. Okay, so we see that this is the only user we have for now, and this user we have, he doesn't have any role feature or sorry, any role property, right? And we just added the role property, which means we should give this person a role, right? So there are 2 ways to do it. You can manually come and just add a role, right? You can manually come and add a role to this person by clicking this edit button. Then maybe you want it to appear after email, or you can just say plus, add a field after email. You can say role, right? Role should be equals to admin or user. Or another way to do the same thing is you write a script that loops over all the data, right? So I'm going to do that one actually, right? instead of manually updating this, I want to show you. Okay, let me manually update this then. Then I'll remove the field and I'll still show you how to do the other one. So let's just say row user and updates. So you've updated that person, he now has a role of user, right? Or let me remove that field. So if I want to remove this field, I'll just say delete for that field and I'll say updates. So it removes that field from, or that property from this object, right? So another way you can add, let's take, for example, you have like 10,000 users and you want all of them to have a role of user, right? Then this is what you can do. You can look through, you can do something like this. Um, Let me reshare. So you can just create a normalization.js file. Then in this normalization.js file, you can just create a closure function. And say await user collection or user model. Is that what I called it? I think it was user model. User model dot update menu. Okay. So user model dot update menu. Then since it's everybody, there's no condition you're going to specify here. Then you're now going to say role should be user. Then you could just console.log done. Just console.log done there. So then you execute the function. You could just execute the function by saying node normalize.js. So what is it saying? Buffering timeout for users. Users the update menu buffered. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I know why. Um I want to say where is it? I'll just copy this though. Okay, yeah. So it's done and I'll just crash it. And if I come back to here. Sorry, I think I understand why this is not going to work. So this is what I'll do. The simplest way to actually do this is to just say, we can just say app.get. So, so await user model dot update menu. Then I'll say row should be user, and then all I just need to do is trigger that script here. So I'll just say / normalize. So I remember that there was no response here. So it's supposed to show done here. Okay, yeah, so it shows done. So if I come back here and share my screen and refresh here. Wow. So what's going on? What's doing? So that's user model, update menu, everybody, role should be equals to user. I don't know if I say, okay, I didn't save my schema or the model. Yeah, I added that role of user. So I need to make that, trigger that script again. So I just trigger the script again, and if you refresh here, you see there's a role of user now. There's a role of user. Uh, so that's it. So let's add an admin. Let's add someone that would be an admin, right? Let's add. So this register, right? We need to update our register. So auth controller, what we are expecting from them is email, password, role. Well, possibly you can allow them to specify their role, or you change it manually. For now, let's allow them specify their role, right? Let's just allow them specify their role. Oh, okay, this for login, not register, sorry. So when we are creating the user, we'll allow them to specify their role. And what do we do here? Okay, so we'll just say role should be admin. The email should be okay. gmail.com. So we'll send our requests and let me just check the database. Yes, the role has been updated as admin. And of course, I'd like to verify. So put that there. Let me check my email to see that verification. So what was sent to me was 8688. So 8688 verify that, yeah, verify successfully and I can log in. Thank you. Oh, okay. Why is it showing Victor? Why is it showing Victor Junior? Okay, I didn't change this, sorry. Okay, so now we have two users, right? One, so this person is an admin, while this other person is a user. And we want it that only admins should be able to, for example, add to do, right? And anybody can view anybody's to do, but only admins can add to do. I'm just using that as an example. So we'll come back here. Remember that our to do, we restricted it somehow. Okay, so we said when you're trying to get all to do that, you're only trying to get your own, but I'll remove that restriction. I'll remove that, I'll make find open to any to do. Okay, but for you to be able to add it to do, you should be an admin. Okay, and let's see what we did here when we wrote the login feature. Let's see if we added anything like so in our login feature, let's see if so the token we are trying to sign, right? Let me close this sidebar. The token we are trying to sign has user ID, email, finish. No, so we are going to add a row. The row would be user details. The row will be user details dot row. Okay, because we want to get the detail of the row, right? You know, from the JSON web token when we want to verify it. Okay. All right, so we've done that now, and which means if any token we previously used, we will need to generate new tokens, right? Okay, so what's next to do? Oh, my database is what is next, is what is on the screen. Wow, 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 wow. Sorry about that. So let me share back to let me take you guys back here to VS Code. Sorry about that. So this is what I did, right? This is what I did. First and foremost, um, in the auth controller, where I am logging in, the function to log in, right? I added the role. You know, when we are signing a token, it was just user ID and email we were signing before. But now I said it should be user ID, which is the ID of the person, the email, and the role for that person that we are signing. Okay, those three. So that when we want to check what kind of user it is, we will just check it directly from this row. Okay. Then what else are we supposed to do here? Okay, then on our to-do controller, I removed that restriction. So before, this was how it was. It was like this. You only view uh to-dos that you create. But now I'm saying you can view anybody's own. But I want to make it that when you want to try and add to-do, it should be only admins that should be able to add to-do. I know it doesn't really make sense why admin should be the only persons to add to-do, but I just want to explain how authorization would work, or how you would write your authorization script to limit, access. So what you want to do is you want to create another middleware here called maybe role-based access .js. So this your role-based access will be used to restrict the kind of roles that should access a particular route. And this is the simple way to do it. You just say role-based access equals to, right? Now, you want to pass in a role here, right? And you can decide if this should be a string on it or it should be an array. What I like doing is I like it to be an array, because I might want a route for maybe a user, an admin, and a storekeeper to be able to access, right? Or I might want multiple people to be able to access a particular role. So this row here, I'm assuming I'm passing an array to it. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if the role here includes, so I'll say, no, let me remind you of something before I continue. Remember that request.decoded contains what we got, right, after verifying the token. And before it was just email and user ID, but now this value will have user ID, email, and role. Okay, so now since this value has role and we are creating another middleware, you can use it here. So you can do this, and then the next thing we want to write is want to return a function. Now, a normal handler, request, response, next. Then what you want to do is you want to say if this role that you're passing, if role dot includes so includes req dot decoded dot row. In fact, before I even do this, to make this simpler for you guys, let me call next. Let me just call next like that. And let me console the log euro euro, and let me console the log decoded row. Okay, I'm logging out all that. So I just want to make you guys understand how this works. So you say model.export equals to role-based access Okay. So I do that, and let me add that to let me add that to our row or our route. So I want to add it to when you want to add it to do, right? I'll just put it here. Role-based access. Let's see, role-based access. And I'll just say, now I said that it's always going to be an array I'll pass here. So I'll say admin, for example. So what I'm saying is it should be only admin that should be able to access this role, but I'm not doing the checking yet. I'm just passing the admin now. The checking, I'll update it later, right? I'm saying admin should be able to make that. Now, let's come back here. Let's come back to let's come back and try to log in as a user and make that request. So I want to log in as this user. Then I'll use his credentials to make that request to add a to-do. So I'll copy that. Where do I add it to be? Where do I add it to be? Okay, so that's where I can add it to do. So I paste that and I press send. Oh, did I save? Did I save? I'm not sure I saved. I didn't save. Ah. So let me try that again. Did you notice? Did you notice something? So the role that we are checking for, or the roles that are allowed access to, or we want to allow access to, is the roles we put here. Where is it? Yeah. So the role we want to allow is admin role. But the role of the person making the request is user. Now, if we come back to role-based access, you see that the decoded role from the token, right? The decoded role from the token is user, but we want admins to only be the ones allowed to access this role or to access this feature. So how do we now do it? Now, we already know that the role is always going to be an array, right? It's always going to be an array. We can say, oh, if the array of rows has this particular row, then it means that this person is allowed to make this request. But if the array of rows, right, that we are allowing for that route, right, doesn't include the role of the person sending that request, then we should bounce the person out, or we should give the person, tell the person the person doesn't have access or shouldn't have access to to using that route or that feature. So this is how you want to write that. You say if role, which is the list of row you are allowing for that route. So if role dot includes if role dot includes, that's if the array of rows that are allowed, right, includes the row for the user making that request. If it includes that, then we might want to call next, or we will call next because that user is someone allowed to access that row. Else, in fact, I don't even like using if and else this way. right? Rather, this is what I want to write. This is how I want to write it. If it's me writing it, I'll say if the row, right, doesn't include if the row doesn't include the row for that particular user, which means that user is not allowed to access the row, right? I want to res.send and I'll say message, you are not allowed to access this row. Then down here, I'll just call next. Now, this way of writing code where you don't use if else, you just have an if to block something. If you want to block something again, you just write an if again. It's called the guard style of writing your if statement or writing your code. So this is like a guard. It's like saying before you get to next, right? You must pass this condition. This condition has to be false, right? Before you can pass to next. Once this condition evaluates to true, right? Then you shouldn't be able to pass through. And I need to add a return here. So if we say it's admins that should be allowed to view this row, and then your own or should be sorry, if it's admins that we say should view or should use this feature, and your role, you guys making the request, your role or you have a user role, then this will resolve to true because it's true that your role is not included in the list of roles that are allowed to make that or to use that feature. So then this if statement block of code will run. But if if let's say we say an admin or admins are allowed to view this particular feature or to use this particular feature, and your role is admin, for example, this will resolve to a false. And since it resolves to a false, this block of code will not execute. Rather, this next is what will be executed. And remember, the next is used to call the next either middleware or controller to handle that case. So I'll just click on save to save what I've written here. And then let's come back here and let's see how interesting this gets. Okay. So this is my 6 stars. I think this is it. So I try to remember that I'm a user. I used Ukok Junior, right? And Ukok Junior is a normal user, right? It's Victor that is an admin. So if we try to do this, okay, what does it say now? Okay, cannot read property of row. Okay, undefined of row. Okay. So let's come back here. Let's come back here. So let me just wrap this up. And it's saying it cannot read row. Okay. Line 5. Line 5. Okay. This is row, right? Okay. Oh. So let me convert this to a normal function. We convert that to a normal function and make the request again. Okay, what is it saying? Role is not defined. How is role not defined? So let's come back here and let's check it again. Okay, so so how come so now this is actually funny. How come it's printing this row, but it can't read it from here? Okay. Okay, someone is saying, oh, oh, okay. I thank you very much. So it's decoded, not what I spelled before. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So let me make that request again. Now you see, it's saying you are not allowed to access this role. Why? Because we said that the list of people that should access this role should be just admin, right? But your own role, you that is making the request, you have a user role, not an admin role, right? And because of that, you are not allowed to make that or take that action, right? You can only take that action once I say something like this. Once I say on this to-do controller, I come here, I'm sorry, on this to-do route, I come here and say admins and users should be able to use that route, okay? If I do that and I come and make this request again, it's going to go through because, yeah, I've allowed users and admin, right? And user is part of the people that are allowed to access that room. That's why it's working. But if user is not, if I remove user now, it won't work. Okay, so that is how you segment or restrict. So now you can have multiple users, right? You can have multiple users. You can, oh, so you can have admin, super admin, this and that, and the rest, right? And you can restrict the way or the access to um, features or endpoints. Okay, now, is there any question on that? Now, there is what is called, so this, what I just showed you is called role-based authorization. There's another kind of authorization called permission-based authorization. Now, permission-based authorization is more detailed. For example, um, with permission-based authorization, you can actually specify the action of what users can do. For example, let's take, for example, you're you're trying to write a back end for an e-commerce, right? So you can create a super admin for that e-commerce that can add other staffs, right? Now, those staffs now, you can then write that maybe one staff can, or one staff should be able to, or staff should be able to create products, should be able to edit products, should be able to delete products, and then you can check which particular for example, you can say that one staff should be able to add products and edit, but should not be able to delete, something like that. So which means something like add products, maybe a property like add products will be true, edit products will be true, delete products will be false. Then maybe there's another staff that his own job is to delete products. So maybe that one staff that deletes products, his permission might be add product to be false, update product to be false, but deleting products will be true. True. So that true now will and allow him to take that action. So permission based is more of like action, right? Saying, okay, these are the list of things you can do. And with that pattern now, right? Super admins, for example, can control the way and maybe staff behave. Maybe a super admin can just deactivate the staff totally and say, okay, the staff should not be able to add product, should not be able to upload product, should not be able to use product, just be there as a staff. Just maybe your own is just to view. Okay. So that's permission based, which is a little bit more advanced, or should I say a little bit more tricky than role-based authorization. Okay. So that's just by the way, right? I don't want to bring it up in this class. Maybe we might have it in one of our classes, I'm not sure. But then, so the next thing I want to teach or talk about is how to upload your API online, right? How to upload your API online. And I don't know, this should be the fun part of this whole thing, because all you've been writing have been on your PC, on your PC, on your PC, and you want to take it online. So let's see. How do we do that? So first we verify that our end or what our API is running well. The next thing we would want to do is want to create a GitHub repository where we'll push it to. Okay. So let me reshare my screen. Let's go over to my GitHub account. So it's still coming up. Okay. Uh, so let's head over to github.com. Please load fast, please load fast, please load fast. Okay. Um, so I'll create a new repository. I'll call this task repo TMP. It should be temporary because I'll delete it. Yeah, I'll make it public. You can make it private. Then don't add readme, sha. If you want to add, if you add readme now, then it will be hard for it it might be a bit difficult to push to this. You rather want to add readme offline and then push it online. Okay, so that's all. Create it. You can add a description if you want, if you like, if you're led by the spirit to add. So they said if I don't have a GitHub repository, this is what I should do. But if I already have an existing repository, this is what I should do. I don't have an existing repository, so I'll just copy this one. I don't like stress. I'll just copy. Did it copy? Show me that you copied. But you change to copy. Okay. So let's go back to our VS Code. So now before I even initialize, I want to make sure that ANV is out of the game. It's not going to be pushed. Thank you. So I'll just paste all these things here and just press enter. Thank you. Create the README. Thank you. Create branch. Okay. Add the origin. Thank you. and push. Thank you. So what I did was I made it run all the code at once. Okay, so it only pushed readme online. It didn't push all these other parts. So what I'll do is if you say git status, right? You see this. Now git git has what is called git has what is called a staging area, right? So let's take, for example, you want to slaughter your chicken, right? Your chicken is inside a bowl. You will take your chicken from the bowl to a staging area, then you start slaughtering it, or you start pieces or cutting it into pieces, right? Uh, that's how Git actually works, right? So what you want Git to take a snapshot of, right? So now this is another scenario of you thinking about it, right? Okay, this tab. Okay, so someone is asking me how did I open this tab? So this tab is automatically open once I make a request using um using this HTTP stuff, right? Once I make a request, it just opens another tab and um shows me the response of my request. Now, another way to open a side tab is if you drag, let's say I drag this role-based access, I drag it to this end and I leave it as so it's going to come here. Okay. All right. I hope I've answered your question, Daniel. So there's this there's how I used to think about Git and how Git manages your code versions, which actually made sense to me. So take it that your code is your code or your projects, right, are a group of workers, right? And then they're having a party. And most times each a worker might want to take you might want to take a picture of one worker, right? Or one staff. You might want it. So you walk him uh to the red carpet and you tell him to pose and then you snap that particular person. Or you can take the entire company, right? That's the entire group of staffs for that particular company, right? And then you match them to the red carpet and then you take a picture of all of them. That's how Git is actually. So you can take a file or you can take the entire files in your project and add them to the staging area and then take snapshots of them. So taking snapshots of them is taking their current states, how they are at this particular point, right? When you take a snapshot of them, you then push that snapshot or the repository that holds the snapshot history, right? Online. So that snapshot history can be likened to um an album, like a photo album, you know. So it's more like you snap your code and then you're uploading the album to GitHub. And GitHub uses that album to tell you on this day, on this time, at this time, this is how this particular file looked. In case you want to go and be checking the history or your code history, right? You can actually do that. So we've done this and I want to push now what it just pushed the last command I wrote just pushed only readme.md and I want to push everything. So I'll say git add git commits. I like so initial commits. Okay. I just call it initial connection. So I've taken all of them, I've added them to the staging area and I've snapped all of them. So now I have them in my Git album. Git photo album. Okay. Then I'll push all of them online to the cloud. So I'll say git push origin main because I want to push them to the main branch. And yes, they are being pushed. Push, push. All right, don't mind me. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go back to our browser. Since we've pushed our code online, we want to go to our browser and verify that and then see how we can deploy it. So we come here to our browser and we refresh here first to see how far is it going. Okay, so we have everything pushed here. Yay! Right, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to go to render.com. And there's a reason why I like render, right? Render can be used for tests, right? Just running your projects. It's not too expensive. They have a free plan, a free tier, right? That free tier allows you to test as or deploy, you can deploy front end using uh using render. You can deploy Postgres database, you can deploy Redis, you can okay, did they deploy Redis? You can deploy a cron job. Let's see what they do actually. So if we click on new, right now, so this I've been able to log into my render account. So let's see if I click on new, what will happen? Okay, beautiful. See the number of things they can do. Okay, Redis is not on this list. Yeah, I don't know if this is it. I think they actually did Redis before. So static site is for your React, HTML, CSS. Web service is for your back end. Private service, private service. Background worker. Not really sure about this. Cron job. So you want to be sending emails every 24 hours, something like that. Postgres database, and I think this has a restriction. So if you spin up a database, it's lasts for I think 30 days or so, and then they'll delete it. They'll delete the database again. So you need to recreate the database. Then I think this key value should be for Redis. Not sure. Then you have projects and blueprint. So you can actually explore this. So we are actually looking towards deploying a web service. And what is the name we used? No, it just appeared a few minutes ago. So it's a public repository, and I'll paste the name here. So let's come back here and let's copy the link to that repository. Come here, paste it. Since it's so, if it's not public, if it's not a public repository, if it's a private repository, when you're here, you come and say, where is it? You want to connect with your GitHub, and then when you connect with your GitHub, it will tell you to choose a repository, a private repository you want to deploy. Okay, but because my repository is public, that's why I'm using this option here. So I'll just do connect, and it will get the repository for me ASAP. So it has gotten the repository, task repository is the name of the project. I could call it temporary task. Don't worry, I'm not creating a project. The language is Node. The branch is name. The root directory, is this necessary? So I could just put dot slash, or I could just leave it empty. But empty means it's still going to be dot slash. So, but let me remove it. Then the build command is npm install, and then the start command is going to be, now you're not going to use nodemon to start your server. Okay. So let's come back to our package.json, sha. So we have npm run. So, oh, sorry. Let me reshare my screen. Sorry about that. So here we have npm run dev, right? So see it here, we have npm run, okay, npm start and npm run dev, and say npm run dev uses nodemon. You don't use nodemon on the production server, you use nodemon on the development server. So which means we are going to run a start command to start up that project. So let's go back again. So here you will just write npm start. You just write npm start here. So their paid plan starts at $7, and this is what they give you for $7. So I want their free plan. And then the downside to their free plan is that your server will power down after some few minutes of inactivity to save resources. So which means when your server powers down and you make a request, your server will have to wake up, or it will have to be redeployed by render. So that is going to take a little bit of time before it works. And I know some people will be saying, so people that are like smart people will be like, oh, so why don't we write a script to always keep the server awake, right? So there's also a specified amount of time in hours that your server can stay awake for a month. So once you restrict, or once you exceed that limit to the number of hours your server can stay awake on render, your server will be suspended for that month, and you have to wait till the next month before you can make use of it, or probably maybe delete the code base and redeploy it. Something like that might work, which is stressful actually. So let's continue. Now, remember environment variables. Remember that we saved it in a .env file, right? This is where you're going to use it. So now you can add them one by one, or you can add from an env file. So me, I like using this one because this one is the simplest way. So I'll come back to my VS Code. I'll just copy everything. I don't want to stress myself. I'll just copy everything and paste, but come, this DB will not work. This one will not work. So this is the thing, right? So someone is asking, is there another option to render with a free tier that doesn't have those issues? No. So as far as it's free, okay, as far as it's free, those issues stand. But if you want your server to always be up and running, then you have to pay $7 a month. But then, of course, that could be covered by, if you're working for a company, that $7 could be covered by the company, right? Beautiful. So someone is asking, how about a VPS? So a VPS is not going to give you that restriction. I have personally used a VPS, right? And an example of a service that gives VPS is Contabo. So Contabo, Kamatera, DigitalOcean. I think the other one is iServer. Sorry. Oh, I can't remember the name of the other one. Yeah, so these are the three, right, that I've used. I've used Contabo, I've used Kamatera, I've used DigitalOcean. Yeah, if you're deploying on a VPS, then it's more difficult than deploying on render, okay? Because if you're deploying on a VPS, you have to set up engine X, because it's not even good to allow people to send direct requests to your back end that's running on a VPS. So you need to set up engine X, and engine X would also help you with load balancing, right? If you want to spin up multiple instances of your server, right, so that you can scale vertically, right? I'm sorry, let's say vertically. You can scale horizontally, right? So horizontal scaling is like spinning more servers. Vertical scaling is more of um improving the hardware or upgrading the hardware. For example, uh, if you want to horizontally scale a VPS server, right? You want to, maybe if it was using 1 gig RAM, you want to make it 2 gig RAM or 3 gig RAM. So that's more money, right? But then if you want to scale horizontally, that means maybe setting up more more instances of your back end, and maybe using um a proxy server, right? Like Nginx to handle it, to handle the traffic. Okay, so yeah, you can use a VPS actually. The VPS works perfectly well. So for now, I'll just deploy this first. Then I'll show you how you can use Mongo online. So I'll just say add environment variables. Everything is being added. I know that the only thing that I'll need to change is this Mongo. So I'll just deploy it first. I know it is not going to deploy because it's going to deploy, but it's not going to be able to connect to a database. So while it's deploying, I would want to come here and I'll just search Mongo Atlas. So Mongo Atlas is the online version of Mongo, right? Or let's just say it's a service that runs Mongo database online. Okay. And they also have a free tier. So I think their free tier allows you to save data worth up to 500 megabytes. Then once it hits 500 megabytes, for you to save more data, you will need to pay. I think that's it. I don't know if they've increased it by now also. So we are going to go to MongoDB and Atlas, right? And then we'll see how we can use it. So I'm just waiting for this to load. Let's come back here. In progress. So we are seeing the log. So first it's trying to, okay, it has started the server on port 3000. Don't worry about the ports. It has given us, okay, it hasn't given us, okay, it has given us a link we can use, a base URL we can use. So instead of using localhost 3000 / you can use this, right? And it's trying to connect to the database. So that's why you see error trying to connect to Mongo server. See, it's trying to connect to Mongo, but it's not connecting. So it will try again and again, and then later on, I think it is going to fail also. So let's come back here. Let's see how we can get Mongo Atlas working. Um, so um this is taking much time. This is taking much time. This is taking much time. Okay, so I think it's saying that it has deployed successfully, although that might that might not. Yeah, it deployed successfully, but it's not connecting to the database, right? Uh, so I'm concerned about why this is actually slow. Why MongoDB Atlas is taking time. Why it's shouldn't take much time. Okay, so yeah. Um, oh, I went and crashed it again. Okay, So I'm just waiting for MongoDB Atlas to come up. Okay, beautiful. I'm not actually signing up. I want to log in. Uh, wow. So there's no, okay. Oh, wait, no. Maybe I'm the one that searched the wrong thing. That's what I was looking for. Actually, not to start registering. Right. So, yes. Yeah. Okay. Let me use my GitHub. Yes, so authorize, please. I don't have any option. Okay. So what is this? Is now valid. My password cannot be that short though. Oh, wow. Okay, 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 okay. So, and I have a cluster, and I have a cluster. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to, sorry, I need to switch to my own organization because I don't want to be using someone else's organization. Yeah, so I'll use that project. And now, what do you need to do when you're here? Right? When you try to create a Atlas account, they'll ask you questions, or they'll ask you the region, yeah, they ask you a lot of things. You create a cluster and the rest. Okay, so the data size, that's data size, data federation. So sorry. So now what you need to do first is you need to open up your network access, right? Since I'm testing, I just included this IP address. Now this IP address means that anybody can connect to this server, but or anybody can connect to my database, but the database access is where you create a user, like what, sorry. Network access means any IP address can connect, but that doesn't mean anybody can connect, because for you to be able to connect to the database, you need a username and a password. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So Atlas admin, all resources, this. Okay, so I need to add a new database user. I'll call him user one, user one. Just then, what about this custom rules? Is it a temporary user? Yes, it's a temporary user and be deleted in the duration of 6 hours. So I want him to be deleted after 6 hours automatically. So let me just add that user. So user one, right? User one. Okay, what did it say? You must choose at least one privilege. Okay. So I think what this means is to select a role. So you can read and write. Okay. Atlas admin. Okay, so I like using the Atlas admin. In fact, I'm going to do this thing as soon as I finish. So you can add a user. So user one, right? And how do we connect to our database? Now, if you come back to overview, right? And you click on connect, you choose that you want to connect using Compass. Anyone, sure, it should show you this Mongo SRV, and then username, password, cluster. So this is what I'll do. So I'll just copy this. I'll go back to my render account. Come to no, not settings. I'll come to my environment. When I come to my environment, I have my environment variables there. I'll just come here. Where is that database URL? So okay, so we have DB URL here, right? What I'll do is I'll now come and click on edit. So edit will allow me to edit what I have here. So instead of having DB URL here, I'll just delete all these other parts. Just paste that here. So the username, I'll change it to user1. The password too, I'll change it to user1. User1 cluster, then / the name of the database. Once I do that, the next thing I'll do is save, rebuild, and deploy. Now, once we save, rebuild, and deploy, it's going to redeploy this. It's going to try and redeploy it. And where is it? If we come back to events, so events is where you see what is happening. Is it trying to deploy something? So you see, it has started deploying, and it's because of an environment update. So if we click deploy now, you should be able to see something interesting. Okay, so what is happening is it's recloning your repository, then it will install dependency, then it will try to start your server with the command you gave it. So let's see if it will connect to database this time. So let's see. So it's deploying. Okay, so someone is saying this is not much different from the cell. Okay, yeah, it's similar to the cell, right? But you know, this one you're deploying the back end, right? So that's just what makes it different, but it's similar and it's simple to deploy. So now it's trying to run npm start, which runs this command, node app.js. Then now you see, this is what I was actually waiting for. So after starting the port on port 3000, it now connects to the database, right? Now everything is live. And so so if I want to test this now, let's see how we can even document this thing now. See, I'll copy this URL and then I'll use Postman. Let's go to Postman. I'll see how I can document this with Postman briefly. Where is it? Where's Postman? So I'll just come here. Postman, what do I do? So, for example, this place to list to do. This place to list to do, for example, let me click on it. So instead of me using localhost 3000, I'll just paste that there. Then I'll send the request. Okay. Okay. So this is not okay. So what is this saying? You can't get, cannot get. Okay. Um. So let's see. Let me see why that is happening. Okay. So there's no slash. Okay. So there's only / to do. And I have to be logged in to be able to do that. No token supplied. So I'll have to create a login. I have to create login and register. Oh, sorry. So this is supposed to be this will do. There's login here. There will be login here. And there will be register also. Okay. So I remember that register was /auth/register. So let's come back here. I'll just copy this. I'll say register was /auth/register. The body here, I want to just send raw. I could send raw, or I could send X from URL coded, but let me just send it this way. So I want to register, and let's see how that goes. Okay. Okay, so yeah. I'm supposed to post, not get to register. Let me save that. That's what will work. Okay, so I've been able to register. I should be able to copy this. I should be able to have a route to verify my email. So that will be a patch to verify. So that will be verify, and then it will accept token, purpose, and OTP. So I'll just copy the basically what I need. I'll just keep this as register. While this other one will be verify, because I've already edited it. I'll bring it down, drag it down, so they'll be in order. So verify would want to have what? So I'll just copy this, paste it here. Then I'll delete this one because you can't send two JSONs. It has to be one. Let me see the email I used to register. Can't remember the email. Because so let me check that email. Let me check that email. Wow. The OTP is just 69, which is quite strange. This OTP is quite strange. So it's supposed to give 4 letters. I don't know why it's related to. Then what else are we supposed to do now? We can log in with that user, right? With that email and password. So I'll just copy, come here to body raw, paste it, remove the first, remove the full name, remove the role, and remove the comma. Then I'll change this to a post, and I'll copy this route here. Then I'll say login. So once I do that, it gives me this token. Okay. Then the next thing I can do is I can include this. I can copy this and include it when I want to send it to you. Now I'm going to show you, there's something I'm going to show you about Postman. This is not the standard way of doing these things, right? This is not the standard way of doing. I'll show you the standard way of doing this thing. So you say authorization, bearer, not bearer JWT, bearer token. So bearer token would be that token there. So once you do this, if you come back here, you see that it will automatically add bearer and the token you just put in there. So, or if you want to just come and write it on your own, you can actually write it there. So if I make that request now, you see, it shows an empty to do, right? And if I want to post a to do, right? If I want to post a to do, I can just simply come here to, where is it? To do. I can come here and post. And all I need to do is add this authorization again. Of course, so if I do that and save, okay, so what is it saying? An error cannot post to / to do. So let me check where I used to post to. Okay, it's / to do / to do. So if I post here, you see, it created that to do for me, right? And if I come back to get the to do, it should show me that task that I just created, right? And this is just, so this is a basic, all right? In our next class, we are going to go in more in depth into this Postman thing, and I'll show you some secrets about, or some intrinsic features about Postman. Like, for example, being able to specify a base URL once and being able to use it multiple times. Okay, and even this authorization, being able to specify it once and use it, like creating variables in Postman. So this is where I'll draw the curtain for today's class. Thank you very much for coming out today. Is there anybody that has any question? Any question? Any question? Okay, so if there's no question, just rewatch this video and you would understand more about what I've taught so far. Thank you for coming out to today's class, and that'll be all. Bye for now.